Hello, everyone. I'm Lawrence Yang. I'm a family doctor in Surrey, and we're here on the FTS in the Zoom podcast. I have a fantastic guest, my friend Erica Phelps. Dr. Erica Phelps, can you introduce yourself a little bit in the context of Canadian quality improvement?
Sure. So I think first and more foremost, I am an obstetrician gynecologist. I work in a smaller community in Fraser Health, just outside of Vancouver in Langley. I've been here for about 15 years and work as a generalist. And more recently, have gotten involved in QI work through the physician QI program that started in Fraser and is now across the whole province. So I started in that as part of cohort one way back when, with a small group of folks, and have really found a lot of meaning and value of that. So continued my education and did further training with the IHI as an improvement advisor, and about a year ago, almost, yeah, took over as the physician advisor for the Fraser Health PQI program. So that's kind of my short QI story. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, I remember meeting you for the first time. We were at IHI Orlando.
Yeah.
Um, this is the IHI Forum, which is an international forum. Tell me a little bit about if so, for someone who's never been to the IHI forum, what
Mm.
would you tell them it's like?
Oh, it's like the Disneyland of healthcare. It is so much fun. um, it I feel like so much of QI I just kind of stumbled on and have absolutely, it's been life changing. And so this conference is something I kind of stumbled on. It was in Florida. I thought, well, that's kind of a cool opportunity. Um, but the scale of it, the number of people who were there from all over the world was impressive and overwhelming. Everybody there cares about making healthcare better, and it is so unusual to be in such a large group of people who are all sort of working towards that goal. It's hugely inspiring, and it was really like uplifting to know other people are working towards this in different areas of the world, and everybody has their own challenges, and to hear the cool and innovative things that people are doing around the world, it was absolutely motivating, especially that first year. It kind of blew my mind a little. And and then you start to meet people, and like yourself and other people from BC, and we've met obviously other people around the world, and some of those relationships and friendships do continue and still keep in touch. So and each year more and more people from BC go, and so it's become, I've equally appreciated some of the social time, sort of, before and after and in between all the sessions, and chance to get to know each other, and um, take trips into some of the parks and do some fun things. So yeah, it's been really a great networking. I learn a lot every year that I go, and I come back absolutely renewed. Yeah.
Yeah, the topics are so interesting. There's such a wide variety, but there's always stuff on equity, like social
Yes.
determinants of health and equity, and those are really, really foundational, I think, to improving our healthcare system. Speak a little bit to that because I remember being so inspired by when you first announced that you were going to be courageous and take on this physician advisor
Mm.
role within Fraser Health. You gave us a
Mhm.
speech that was inspiring, where
Mhm.
you spoke
Oh,
really strongly about your heart for equity and
yeah.
marginalized populations. Speak a little bit about that to us.
Well, it's obviously been a growing issue for everybody, and the pandemic has certainly put that even more so into all of our views. Um, it's hard to sort of pinpoint it to one thing, but I think if I was to put it back, it's what brought me into healthcare in the first place, was to help people, and as um, and that was everybody. There were no sort of limitations, or I could only help certain people. I came in to help everybody. And the more and more that I learn about our healthcare system, and that that is not the experience that everybody has, it's quite distressing at times. And the more I hear from people in the community about their experiences in our healthcare system, especially people who are part of more marginalized populations, it's very distressing, and I think there is part of that self-reflection as I learn about my role as a healthcare provider, the privilege that I have come into the system with, and that there are probably times that I have been a part of that system, and my views have probably not been helpful to people. And so part of my journey is a personal one, to learn about these things for myself. What am I doing? How am I contributing? And how can I contribute the other way in making things better? So that's been part of the journey too, is understanding my place in this, and some of the privilege that I've had being Caucasian, being coming from an upper middle class family, living or working in a profession that I am generally comfortable. I don't think about where I'm going to pay for my next meal. It's afforded me a lot of privilege, and as I fully realize that, I want to use that to support and help give voice to the people who don't have those privileges. I think more recently, and I think you were part of this too, have had opportunity to not too long ago have an experience out over in Fort Langley with the Kwantlen and Katzie First Nations, and a cultural experience that was just hugely meaningful. And again, I keep learning new new layers of things. And so that's kind of where some of that inspiration comes. It's obviously a complex issue, and we're still broadly figuring out how to start addressing this, but it's very obvious we have to. So I'm glad that it's being addressed in many different ways and different forums. Lots of amazing people out there doing this work. So yeah.
If I was to identify something kind of unique about your particular leadership, how you are being when you lead, it's definitely about. I can see that you're mindful about non-judgment. Like I never see you in a blameful, even like I don't see a blameful thought cross your mind.
Oh, they
Anywhere,
they're
anywhere,
there.
anywhere. Well, at least when you're leading. Of course, we all have
Yeah.
those thoughts of, oh, that's why that happened, that person. But
Yeah.
speak to me a little bit about how
Mhm.
do you cultivate this level of compassion and like where does that non-judgment and awareness of privilege come from?
It's hard to say. It's yeah, exactly as you said, it is a personal journey. It is sort of understanding kind of who you are as a person, what you value. And, one of those things I have looked to people around me to say who in leadership, who, other people, who do I value, and what is it about them, and um, how can I mirror that? And so part of it comes from that. In my healthcare journey, both as a clinical practitioner, moving into leadership roles, it has not been easy. And there's definitely been some tough situations and things that have caused me a lot of personal distress. And in trying to figure out how to work through that, how to be a better leader, how to better help others, a big part of that has been that journey. Um, and knowing sort of in a leader, if I look around at to somebody I respect, what is about them, and then how can I sort of bring that into my own style, while still being true to myself. Can't completely mimic other people out there, but but I also think of how would I want to be treated, because we're all out there, we all make mistakes, we all kind of screw up. And if there's another leader, how would I want to be treated? I would want to be treated with respect. I would not want to have somebody rush to conclusions. I would want somebody to be curious and ask questions. Um, One thing I think that has sort of been a personal strength is I sit in that role of a peacemaker. So I am very good at seeing both sides, and understanding that there are two sides of that. It's also my downfall in that sometimes it's hard to pick a side. um, but it is something that has come very easily, um, is that role, so that I can see those sides, and maybe that comes across sort of in my personal interactions, but
Yeah, it does.
yeah.
It's obvious that you can hold on to the dualities, the
Mhm.
possibility you can empathically place yourself in the multiple perspectives and
Mm,
see that there may be more than one
mm,
truth to this particular situation, or
mhm.
that people are just feeling the blind people are feeling different parts of the elephant. Like
Absolutely, yes.
that's
Yeah.
obvious in your style of leadership, and it's very effective.
Mhm.
It creates psychological safety. It creates a safety where, because I watch you a lot, and you facilitate the team to ideate, to create
Mhm.
potential new ways of going, and you're very careful never to dictate what to do. You're always just
Mhm.
setting the stage and allowing us to provide ideas, and then you assist in prioritizing and picking and choosing
Mhm.
the best direction for the team to go. And the mission
Mhm.
for your team is to what do you do for our team? What is
Mhm.
our mission?
Well, our I mean, our mission, and I don't know if I can quote it sort of word for word, but um, we have that vision of PQI of bringing quality improvement to Fraser Health, to BC, to our healthcare system, with the ultimate goal of improving our healthcare systems for the people of BC. And we are part of that, both as healthcare providers, but we are also users of the system, and we want to create a system that we would be comfortable being taken care of in. If you have to take a family member to a certain hospital, how comfortable are you doing that? Do you really think they're going to get the best care? So the big picture vision is to ultimately have better outcomes and improve our healthcare system, and quality improvement is absolutely a huge piece of that. Um, what is needed. It's not going to fix everything, but definitely it's a big piece. And there's a growing knowledge and appreciation of it. I think people are starting to see what is possible. And we have more and more people who are trained, and we have this growing body of really interested and motivated people. And so I'm excited to, once we uh, can get all these bodies working in harmony, what can we accomplish? So that's kind of the next phase that I'm really excited about. And so in PQI, kind of my job is to a little bit to steer the ship, keep us kind of going on track. Sometimes I feel like I'm steering a cruise ship with a tiny little oar. It's hard to move it, but um, yeah, but that's ultimately where we're working towards.
What the position you're in is such an important position, and I know that you know that you feel the gravity of it, but I don't think everybody recognizes the influence that you and your team have on
Mm,
the entire province of British
mm,
Columbia. I mean, every improvement advisor has great
mm.
influence, but when you were stepping into this role, did you have any trepidation about it? Any like, ooh, can I
Uh,
have that?
not a whole lot. I have certainly been around watching people ahead of me. So Dr. Kurt Smetcher, sort of at the beginning, was a huge mentor, walked us all through the beginning stages. John Wang before me. So I'd been pretty close to them. I knew a lot of what the job involved. Um, I knew I was, had a pretty high degree of confidence. I didn't know everything about what the job was going to entail, so definitely some of it has been a challenge, and it's taken up probably a lot more time than I had anticipated at the beginning. Um, I hadn't, the one part that I knew was part of it was some of those, as you said, those provincial interactions. So meeting with, being part of teams that are more provincially focused. And that's the part I hadn't done a lot of before, stepped in the water a little bit. And so meeting those people around the province who are doing similar work, working on communities together. I've had opportunities to kind of meet some of them in different contexts. And so building that network of people, of like-minded people, has been really a cool opportunity. And an opportunity for us to come together to think those big picture questions of where are we going? What do we want healthcare to look like? So yeah, great group of people in this program.
And part of it is also to like improving healthcare is really about educating people around the how
Mm,
to get closer
mm,
to improving healthcare. And so the
mm.
program that you advise for, you guys are training a lot of different people. Like who do you train in quality improvement science?
So we started with physicians, and that hence the name Physician Quality Improvement. So that's where we started, and obviously that is the large majority of who we train. But we absolutely know that physicians are only one part of the healthcare team, and quality improvement is a team sport. This is not an individual um, project. And so we know we needed to train those teams, and slowly over time, and we're really gaining momentum at that. We've had midwives and pharmacists and nurse practitioners, nurses, managers, directors, um, our patients. We've had patients come through this training, and we're continuing to look, beyond that. As to who else can we train, who else can we bring in, because we need everybody to be on board.
What's the value of doing that? Like physicians are the ones you really usually dictating how care goes, right? Like, why do you need to train everyone? What's the value in that?
Physicians have definitely taken a leadership role in healthcare, but and that still is really important. There is a unique lens and knowledge, uh, and when you pair that with good leadership skills and QI knowledge, um, that combination is really a powerful force. But we know healthcare is more than just that. Our healthcare teams are in there taking care of patients. They're hands-on, and we are not there at every moment. And so everybody who touches the system needs to be part of improving that system. We all have our unique views as to how it works, what the challenges are, ideas for how things could be better. And so we all have a unique view on that. And it's when we bring that together and are able to have conversations that that the whole group can improve. Physicians definitely come most of the time with a certain viewpoint and a worldview. And we can sometimes, and I'll admit, be a little stuck in our viewpoint, we need that diversity of backgrounds and different people to really elevate the work of the teams and to really make these projects the best they can be.
Is there a particular project that you feel is like really shows what quality improvement science in your program can do? Is there one
Mm.
that you'd like to share with us now?
Uh, there's so many, and I think back, but just to that first cohort with some of my um, colleagues there who really just hit the ball of the park right off the get-go. From Carolyn in the lab, and Steve Lagerwood with his stroke work. I mean, right from the get-go, showed some pretty big improvements in care with very minor changes to the system and very low resource systems. And so that idea that we don't need lots of money or big fancy technology. Is that we can do little things and have big impact. So right from the get-go, some people's projects really showcase that. But I was the other project that comes to mind, actually, I was just reading the new publication by one of our colleagues, Diala Alzamar, out in Chilliwack, who just along with Raj Dohal and Janice Ing, and I'm trying to think who the last name on the paper was. I will make sure I don't forget them in a second here, but their group just published in the BMJ Open about their project around virtual care follow-up for the emergency room. And it's just so exciting to see that kind of work being done and being published. And I think that's what a great example of QI, to take this brand new problem of the COVID pandemic that none of us knew about. They recognized a problem, brought together a diverse group of people to sort of brainstorm what could they do about it, put some plans into place, test some of their ideas, tweak their ideas, not everything was perfect. So, how does that change over time? And ultimately really provide better care for patients. Yeah. And yeah, last author, Tiffany Schulz. Thank you for that. I was like, I know there's a fourth person. So yeah, I just would say a big shout out to them for great work. And obviously that's being recognized in publication. And many of our projects are also worthy of that. And so hopefully we'll start to see more and more people present their projects at different meetings and publications. So I could probably talk all day about all the different awesome projects that are going on. Yeah.
And the publication is so important. It's really how we share our learnings. It's so that people don't
Yeah.
have to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and the paper publication is one, but there's so many more opportunities to present at conferences, research days, poster presentations. So any way that we can sort of get the word out and to kind of showcase what is possible, it hopefully inspires other people to pick up that work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, some people think about QI and they're like, that sounds like I don't need that. It sounds a little complex or scary. I don't want to jump in. It sounds like I think the level 3 training, the certificate level training is it almost 9 full days?
Yeah, so our full year training is 10 full days of training. And that is delivered over the course of 10 to 12 months, so about a year. And during the course of the training, we are asking people to complete a project at the same time. So they are doing work in between the project and learning about quality improvement and all the things that go into it along the way. So it is a fairly intensive year, an intensive process. And that really takes people to quite a high level of quality improvement knowledge and skills to take them forward, to really lead. But not everybody needs that full level of training. And there are many ways to participate in quality improvement that doesn't take a whole year and a whole project. And joining somebody else's project, learning a little bit about it, picking a really small, manageable project. There's lots of different ways to get involved in quality improvement work that doesn't have to be complicated or involve a lot of time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get nervous that it's because it is a realm of science that like I'm not ready to take on another degree. It's schooling on top of the work I already have to do. But QI actually doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be laborious, right? It's
absolutely not. And I think so much of it, once you hear the ideas, it's just common sense. A lot of it is stuff that you would think of anyway. It's just putting it together in a certain structure. So our basic model for improvement, it has 3 questions. Can you remember 3 things? Hopefully most of us can remember 3 things. What are you trying to do? how will you know if you're going to be successful? And what are some change ideas that are going to get you there? So 3 questions, you know, that's as simple as it gets. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Obviously, it can be, and for bigger projects, bigger problems, as we spread ideas across from different sites, it can involve more people, and some problems are worth that effort and do need that higher level. Um, but sometimes QI is just that. I know we say that pebble in your shoe or the thorn in your side. What are the things that are just constantly, irritating you and getting in your way of having a good day at work? I know recently our call room, our thermostat was broken, and we're basically living in a sauna, and we all sort of put up with it for a period of time. And you're like, hang on, that's actually really annoying. Let's it's a quick fix. It's sort of, let's do something about it, talk to the right people, and now things are better. It's not some of these things, and using these principles really doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yeah, because some people think that it's all about using like software, putting together these really
Mm,
complicated charts, doing
yeah.
a lot of data collection and then
Mhm.
calculations. And they're like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But it's not about you doing it by yourself. Like you said, it's a team
Yeah.
sport, right?
It-
It's really about.
exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so often when you do have a team, it doesn't all come down onto you. So yeah, that maybe the data isn't your thing, but you have people who can help you do that. Maybe it is your thing, and that's the piece you do, and you don't want to kind of do all the organizing of meetings and leading things. And so there's lots of different ways to be involved, and it can be on a small scale. Some of these things, I know one of our co-faculty, Frank, it's just that capturing data on the back of a napkin, have a little paper and put a few little tally marks as to, counting things. So it can be super simple in the beginning. And yeah.
And physicians are actually funded. They're paid
Mm.
through, I think is it Doctors of BC and the Ministry of Health? Is that who pays for physicians to do this training?
Yeah, so our funding comes through the Doctors of BC, which is in partnership with the Ministry of Health through the negotiated physician master agreement. And so some of the funds that are negotiated are put towards the Specialist Services Committee, the SSC, and under them there are multiple programs. And the PQI, or Physician Quality Improvement program, is one of those that is funded. And so people who come through our training are paid sessional fees to do the quality improvement work during their training. After the training, and if people want to do other work, there are other ways to get funding, sometimes through local health authorities have funding for projects. Also, our facility engagement, so another project of the Doctors of BC has money available for quality improvement projects and funding physician time. And there are other initiatives as well and different places to get money. So it is possible to get money to do this. You don't have to sacrifice a whole lot of income or time. You do need to put the time to it, but it's not for free. Yeah.
A lot of people who might be listening might wonder, what does Erica do? Does she just advise and kind of guide and advise this team to improve quality improvement? But
Mm.
you actually spend time in the operating room. You actually
Mm.
for babies. You do cesarean
I
section.
sure do.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You do, right?
Yeah, so I try to balance about half my time in my clinical job. So I see patients in my office. I work on call at the hospital. So yes, everything to do with having babies and deliveries. So C-sections. My gynecology part of my job, we do a lot of important work there, and making and helping um, uh, women and people better. So I do work clinically, and that's where I get to sometimes put my quality improvement skills to test occasionally as we see faults in the system, or as I find things that don't work well, we think, oh, what can we do about this? And who can I talk to? And I know I know what to do about it now. So that's about half my time. And then the other half of my time is doing quality improvement work, both at my site in Langley. I support some of the quality work there, and then also with the PQI program as the advisor. So yeah.
Most of the obstetricians I know, they just stay and work clinically. They just keep
Hmm.
doing clinical work, and a lot of them, I don't know, why. What made you decide? I'm going to join this intrepid program that's never been done before, uh, in Fraser Health, and it was it 2016 or 2015. What year did you
Even
join?
before, I think 2014 or 15.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, 14, 15.
Yeah.
Like nobody had
Yeah.
heard about it. Like, what made you take the chance and invest your time in quality improvement training?
So I think this came out of a time in my career where I was fairly new into being a local department head, and I was working clinically full time. And a number of just different situations, but one situation in particular that I was really involved in, and there was not as good an outcome, and quite a distressing one to me and the team, but most importantly to the woman and her family. And um, it was a situation that possibly shouldn't have happened, but there was a systems issue that we were up against it and just couldn't get past that. And so I wasn't able to deliver the care that I knew was appropriate and needed to happen. Um, and um, and there was a negative outcome from that. Eventually, things were fine, um, but again, that was really again very personally distressing. And as a new leader, I also felt the responsibility to be able to try to change that or fix this. Like, this is not good care. So we need to be able to make things better. But I didn't know where to start. And it was just kind of, I think, serendipitous that at a time an email happened to cross my inbox, and I happened to actually read it, that said, hey, do you want to work towards making healthcare better? We'll give you some help. We'll give you some access to data. And I think it just hit at a time in my career that that's just really what I needed. And whatever sort of whatever bigger parts of the universe brought these two things together at the right time, it was the right time in my career. And it really saved me from getting quite sort of distressed and kind of burnt out, and possibly leaving clinical practice. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea that this would become part of my career. It just sounded like somebody who was willing to help. And over time, realizing what this was about, what this community of people that I work with um, has really changed things for me. Um, and although I still haven't been able to go back and fix the original problem that led me to there, I'm actually a lot closer. And over time, hopefully, some point in my career, we'll see some movement in that direction. But more than being able to actually fix it, it gave me like the hope that at some point it was possible, and at least to know where to start and who to talk to. And that little bit of hope was just so important at that point in my career, which could have gone a very different direction. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that very personal story, and it sounds like it's really driven by your desire for great quality care for patients, and
Mm-hmm.
for reducing the distress in yourself and colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic motivations for doing this work. I think
Mm-hmm.
we definitely need many more of you. When I watch you work, I get the sense that, wow, Erica could lead a team to solve any issue.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a problem, like I needed to build a tree house, I could just get Erica and put some people in front of her, and she'd be able to get me that tree house done. Like, that's what I get the sense of, because your methodology and your approach is science based, and it's very flexible. Like, I've seen
Mm-hmm.
you do everything from process mapping to
Mhm.
something called PERT CPM. I've seen you
Mm.
facilitate that. You've seen you discuss things using liberating structures, TRIZ. Your toolbox is so wide, and that sounds weird, but your toolbox is very filled with many tools,
Yeah.
and you have that open personality. You're a great listener, empathic, and compassionate leadership. All of
Oh, thanks, Lawrence. I would echo many of those things back to you.
it. So, if someone wanted to gain that skill set, let's say
Mm.
that they are really interested in improving their area of
Mm.
the healthcare system, and they're like, "How
Mhm.
do I get all those skills? Like, what does it take? Like, where did you come across these skills?"
Mhm. So in quality improvement, obviously one of my big things is the PQI, physician QI program. And right now I think that is one of the best and most comprehensive ways to get these skills, especially in BC and in Fraser Health. Um, and we have different levels of training for sort of a stepwise approach. So you can take it a little bit at a time, depending on your interest level. And as we've already talked about, that time is funded. Um, and within that, you put together, especially the final level training, that's the full year. You get to actually put that into practice in a project, bring in other people of your team, and have everybody work on a project together. So there's, I think for all of us, there's only so much learning we can do just by sitting and listening to somebody. That really, to really learn this, you've got to put it into practice. And so any place that you can actually put this learning into real life practice is certainly one of the better ones. Um, the the other skills, I've also done the Institute for Healthcare Improvement Improvement Advisor course. So, and the IHI offers conferences, as we've talked about. They offer training courses at varying levels and in different skills. And I know you've done some of those as well. And so those courses are have been hugely beneficial to me as furthering that learning. I do think as well, a big part of some of this work in QI is about leadership. And one of the ways that we're going to see our healthcare system get better is if people in positions of leadership have this knowledge and training. And so it can go both ways. And so I also, as a physician leader, did some training through um, the Sauder Business School, and our Canadian Medical Association had some leadership training opportunities as well that I've taken advantage of. So that combination of the quality improvement and leadership skills, bringing those together with sort of a clinical background, is a really very complementary set of skills that will take people a very long way. There's many other places to get all those skills. Those are just a few. Those are ones that I've had interaction with, and are fairly easily accessible. Um,
So a physician just needs to find a way to take the time to do these. A lot of these
mhm.
trainings are at least partially funded by Doctors of BC scholarships,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Mm. So
yes. So yeah, there is money out there to pay for these courses. Again, some of them, like our PQI, we do provide sessional funding for that time. Um, I think you just mentioned in BC, we have the JCC scholarship to do a certain amount of money every year for leadership and quality improvement training. Um, and so that money is there. It does require time, and that is a big thing for a lot of people these days. And so it does. Um, I think for most of it, it's not something you can kind of just do at the end of the day, or tag on to everything else. I For me, it has worked best to actually sort of cut back some of my time doing some of these things so that I can make way for some of this work. Not everybody has to do that, um, but carving out that time and having it dedicated to learning and doing this work, um, I think is just really important. And someday, hopefully, that is built into our training and our system so that we don't have to work so hard to carve that out and protect it. But but at the moment, I think that's a reality. Yeah.
Why do you think our system takes the chance to actually put that much funding into this program? Like, why is this
Mm.
such a priority? What do you think?
It is certainly unique when you look across other provinces and down into the United States, and as I've met colleagues from around the world, when you describe sort of this system and this model of funding, people are quite taken aback. And I the more I learn about how unique this is, I'm so grateful that we have it. And I'm not sure that I know the origins of, who originally thought of that. But it's been hugely beneficial. And I think historically there has been a great divide between physicians and, healthcare systems, physician and others, that has been very adversarial. And part of the inception for this program was to try to bring those two pieces, the healthcare system and physicians, together, working towards something common. And the one thing that could bring these two groups together that had been fighting for a long time was around our patients, and that we could agree that the patients were why we were here and that we should be working towards making things better. And so that was the glue that brought these two groups together. And the funding and structure, I would be interested someday to hear about the history of that and how that came to be. Somebody had the right idea. And not to say that it's perfect all the time, or that that we have it all figured out, but we are so ahead of the game in so many different areas because of it. So very grateful. Mhm.
One of the ways I look at it, and you can let me know if it resonates with your understanding, that somebody in leadership recognized that improvement cannot happen without
Mm.
physicians leaning in and collaborating
Mhm.
with patients
Yeah.
and with administrators and the health ministry.
Yeah.
That with if physicians step away, that we cannot get to the future state that we need to provide
Mhm.
excellent quality care throughout the system. Does that make sense? Is that what you think is good?
I I think that has to be part of it. If you look back to the history of medicine, physicians were the primary organizers and drivers and leaders in medicine for a long time. Um, but when we look back to that, and part of how quality improvement came to be, came out of the reports about medical error and realizing how many medical errors and how many patients were being harmed in that system. Um, and despite many good people and good intentions and lots of good things that have happened over the years, that systems of physician controlling things um, was obviously not serving patients. At times we've kind of swung into a very the administration and a very management heavy form of healthcare. And although that may have fixed some issues, it has brought sort of other other challenges and things that have been difficult to deal with. And so somehow swinging back and having those groups work together and realize that we're all on the same team here. We're not, as you say, we're not in our individual silos. We are all together. My kids love High School Musical. We're all in this together. I feel like we could break into song about this, but um, um,
I gotta write the FTS song someday.
yeah, yeah.
Fuck the silos. No, I don't know. Something like that.
No, I don't know.
Gotta
We'll
work.
uh, we'll brainstorm for you.
I need a
Do
songwriter.
some lyric writing. Or you actually, who you need is Alex Hooksman over on
Ooh,
uh,
let's
in
leverage our
Island Health.
improvement advisors.
Another one of our improvement advisors, and maybe a small YouTube sensation. I don't know. Have you seen his videos?
I've seen his Christmas video from last December. Yeah,
Oh,
great piano
okay.
player, and yeah,
Oh,
love it.
I'll send you some links. Yeah.
Okay, so Alex is a ER doc. Diala,
Yeah.
Dr. Alzamar is a ER doc.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, she works. She's a pathologist,
Yeah.
right? And you're an obstetrician. I'm a family doctor. So
Mm,
any specialty, any physician of any
yeah.
can do this program, can do PQI?
Absolutely. So there is no limits for people who work in acute care. One of our growing areas where we haven't had a lot of uptake, but I think we really need to, is in the community. So community family physicians, specialists in the community, whether you work long-term care, psychiatry, surgery, all of it. And again, as we said, it's not just physicians, that we need everybody in this. And so in Fraser Health, we're really hoping to move forward with training teams and not just the physicians themselves, that teams can come through our training together.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome because it is a team sport. You
Mhm.
can only train one member of the team.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Now, so Alex is on the island in Vancouver
Mhm.
Island. You're a physician. Um,
Mhm.
does PQI exist only in Fraser Health, or is it everywhere?
So there is a PQI program in most of the health authorities. The one health authority that does not have a PQI program is the First Nations Health Authority. They're a relatively new health authority, and they have been given the opportunity. It just is, I'm not sure of all the reasons, but it's just not a possibility at the moment. But the rest of the health authorities all have a physician QI program. So Fraser Health was the first. I'm not sure of the exact order, but Vancouver Coastal has a program, PHSA, the Provincial Health Services, Island Health, Interior Health, Northern Health. Yeah.
So there,
Hmm.
so almost wherever you are in British Columbia, if you're a physician or part of a physician team, you could kind of put some feelers out there to figure out how to join your own quality improvement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I
We
wonder.
we are we are everywhere. Yeah.
We're ubiquitous. I'm
Yeah.
wondering who they should ask. I guess they should ask Doctors of BC, right? Would probably be the sense.
So yeah, they on the Doctors of BC website, there is a web page specifically for under the SSC for the PQI initiative. And on that page, it lists I believe it's the managers for each of the health authorities. And so there's a contact person for each of the PQI programs. Within each health authority, there should be representatives and hopefully advertising for the programs. That shouldn't be too hard to find. I know in Fraser Health on our medical staff website, there is information about PQI and how to join. Um, yeah,
I found that the contacts
yeah,
are on screen here. So Fraser
there you
Health's
go.
oops. Oh, Fraser Health's is physician QI at fraserhealth.ca.
Yeah.
Interior
So
Health.
obviously each program has their generic email that gets checked regularly. And so that's a great place to say, hey, how do I get involved?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So whoever any physician is, they can email this and just inquire about kind of the dates for the next training, the
Mhm.
times required, and how they can access, how they can get registered.
Yeah. And you
Great.
can see some of those programs, not everybody, but many of the programs do have their own websites. And so there's links there. A big shout out to Northern Health has done an amazing job with their
Mhm.
website. Yeah.
Cool. So you said that any specialty, including community family physicians and community specialists,
Mhm.
can sign up to learn. And what would be the benefit for them? Like, isn't all this stuff really for, like surgery, improving surgery
Mhm.
outcomes and stuff? Or why would
I
somebody?
think there's benefits to quality improvement anywhere in medicine, and honestly, the anywhere in your life, really. A lot of these quality improvement theories and trainings came out of Toyota, the manufacturing industry, and have been brought into healthcare. So these are not ideas that are unique to healthcare. So these can be used in any setting. And sometimes in our personal lives. I want to lose weight. I want to be a little more fit. I want to be more flexible. How can I do that? What are some of those things. So really those three questions of what do I want to achieve? How do I know when I get there? And, what changes can I make? You can apply that anywhere in your life. And when you start thinking in that way, you start seeing, quality and opportunities for QI projects everywhere you go.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I feel like you really have the
Mm,
skill set to solve any problem as long as we give you.
mm,
I really appreciate the training for that same ability. You can have,
mm,
like, I feel like we could go to any team with a problem and really assist
mm,
to accelerate knowledge or accelerate ideas, because it's not really about us being experts on
mm,
whatever they're working on, right?
mm.
To that, it's not really about that, right?
No, and to do quality improvement, you don't always have to be an expert, and but you do have to be curious and to ask questions and to learn. Yeah, and you can take these trainings into your, like, anywhere. You take them into personal life, and you look at climate change, and I want to reduce, make my house zero waste. Well, how can I do that, and what can I do? You take it there, and then you go and ask the experts, what can I do to do this? So you don't have to be an expert yourself to do any of this. And so the same goes for our community specialists. These tools and techniques are not unique to hospitals or acute care. It can be used in your offices. It can be used for individual patients. I have yet to see somebody do a project, but using those QI principles with an individual patient, like somebody with diabetes who's looking to improve their hemoglobin A1C. An individual patient could use this as a project, or it'd be interesting to see teaching a patient some of these tools and to see them put that into practice. So so many different ways to kind of use this knowledge and skills.
What do you think is one of our greatest challenges if we're trying to shift our system into a culture where we're using a joint methodology to improve
Mhm.
each part of our system? What's the biggest challenge?
Temporarily, I think everybody's exhaustion level right now, coming out of, well, and not even that we're out of it, but still living through dual pandemics, and especially this wave of Omicron, at least in the short term, one of the biggest challenges we've been facing. And again, I speak on a personal level as well as sort of leading a program, is just people's time and energy is so depleted right now. And people are just um, barely getting by day to day and providing some basic care, let alone having the time and energy to think creatively or to do something different, or have the possibility that things might not work and they might fail. So I, I don't think that's a long-term problem, but in the short term, I see that as a pretty big challenge right now to a lot of the QI work that we're doing. I think longer term, our access to data and how we think about data within our healthcare system and how we use it to learn needs to change. And right now, our healthcare system is designed to collect data for reporting to various structures, and it's not designed for us to learn. And so one of those challenges is, how do we reshift our system, and especially how we gather and think about data, um, to learn and improve, as opposed to just report out to somebody else. We still need that reporting. That's an important part, but that broad view of our healthcare system and how we look at the data we have. Mhm.
So I'm hearing you say that we actually need to generate new ways or new data systems that are adaptable to the needs of quality improvement. Because if we don't, it can slow down our progress of
Mhm.
gathering useful, meaningful data to guide the changes that our system makes and how it allocates human resources and
Mhm.
change packages and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yeah. And to test our ideas, and one of the things in QI, we like to have these rapid tests of change, these PDSA cycles. We've got an idea, we test it, we want to see how it's working in the moment. We can change, we can adapt or adopt or abandon our ideas, move on to the next. And we want to do that quickly. And That's really hard to do in our current system, the way we collect and report on data. And so there is that possibility of doing a whole lot more and a whole lot faster if we can get that system working. Data is not everything. There are multiple different ways we can measure our impact and our outcome, and we can be creative about how we do that. But at some point, there's some big ideas that need to change about that, and probably some technical aspects of how we collect data and how we report that too.
Yes, yeah. So uh, it's you said those three questions, and how do we know if we've gotten to where we want to go, or how do we know we're making an improvement? So it does really depend on a system that supports us in that data collection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe that Fraser Health, you were one of the first students in the physician quality improvement program in the whole province, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
there any program like this anywhere else in Canada?
The I know there are, I know several people who have gone, I believe at the University of Toronto, and I believe at Queen's has master's programs in quality improvement. So many people who go away to do other training or subspecialty training will often do a master's program along with that. So there are other ways of doing that. I'm aware of programs in Ontario, but there very well may be others. Um, there are other ways to get quality improvement training, even in BC, through the BC Quality and Patient Safety Council, have probably smaller modules. So there are other ways to get the training, but I'm not aware of any program that is so specifically designed around physicians for physicians, and one of the unique things about us is that it is run and taught by physicians.
So,
That's a unique part of our program.
so
Mm-hmm.
the physician quality improvement program is actually taught by physicians who have actually gone through the program,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's kind of like peer-to-peer teaching. And
Yeah.
so it
And we
sounds like.
do have other, we have nurse practitioners on our faculty, and we have other people who have come through our faculty, and maybe even one day a patient partner can come back and, one of our alumni, see if we can convince her to come back to be on our faculty at some point. So we do have many people in our faculty, and many of our staff are experts in data and do some of our training and teaching. So we definitely have a broad range of faculty, but a large majority of our teaching is done peer-to-peer from physician to physician. And there is something unique about that in understanding where each other is coming from, and a sort of a shared experience that you can understand. And that is quite a unique thing around the world that we have here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speak a little bit to the fact that we have patients in your program. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that patient
Mm-hmm.
involvement, and why are they there? Isn't it just about physicians learning how to change their workplaces?
Mm-hmm. It is about physicians learning, but who better to learn from than the patients who are in the system and experiencing the care themselves? And one of those true core principles that has been there right from the beginning is really incorporating and having patient voices and that patient experience be front and center with our projects. And often that means having and that should involve having patient involvement in essentially all projects. And that involvement can be in various different ways and looking at different roles. And that's something where um, over time we're learning about how to involve patients and what is the best way, and what can we do better. So we've had patients involved on projects from the get-go. My year of training, we actually had two patient partners who sat in with all the training. with us for that whole year, and they got the textbooks, they did the readings, one of them even kind of ran a mini project, and their role was really to help keep us focused on what matters to the patient and make sure the patient perspective and voice was front and center. So we had their voices throughout the training, and again on different projects. And so we've had a variety of patient partners come and go throughout the years, but their voice is so important to our projects.
Yeah, in amongst my colleagues, there's a lot of my colleagues are burnt out, they're suffering, and they start
Mm,
to blame, administrators or blame other
mhm,
people for their
mhm,
suffering and their distress within the system,
mhm,
their inability to actualize great care that they have expected of themselves and of their
mhm,
teams. And they just get, I guess they get really negative. And sometimes they actually get to the
mhm,
point where they're blaming patients, where they're like,
mhm,
why are the patients asking me for this? you know, don't they
mhm.
understand my limitations? And the truth
Mhm.
is that patients generally don't. They expect our care system to work like Amazon sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, as I mean, they don't. They know they don't. They know it doesn't work like that. It's not that simple. But they expect like a higher level of
Yeah.
quality than our system generally delivers. Eh?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. And there could be a point where those expectations are higher than what the system is capable of. But the vast majority, like almost all patients, do have a very reasonable understanding of how our healthcare system in Canada works, what its limitations are, and also the advantages of it. Um, our patients are smart. They know, they know these things, um, and yeah, it working in this healthcare system, and especially this last 2 years, it is so easy to kind of fall into those places of distress and personal stress for healthcare providers, and that comes out in many different ways and behaviors that's not always sort of healthy, and those those feelings, I think in these last 2 years we've kind of all been to those low places where it is overwhelming, and I think taking a step back, and I think that's what patients and their stories of who they are as people, the experiences they've had, what matters to them, um, hearing that in a really meaningful way can help reorient, how we're thinking about things, and bring us kind of to that higher level view of the system, and our role in that. There's work in quality improvement, of actually having some autonomy over the work that you do, some control, and ability to actually change things, can be so crucial, and is probably one of the most effective things to help physicians who are feeling burnt out or on the edge of burnout, or maybe you're not, but you want to prevent yourself from getting there. So being active in quality improvement is, such a huge part of what can help for people who are just really feeling frustrated. And those interactions with patients and hearing their stories, it keeps me grounded and sane as well.
yeah, I totally agree. And in my work in the clinic and the community, and when I was working more in the hospital, I would hear so many people complain about the system and just keep
Mhm.
complaining and blaming. But I think that learning these skills allows us to have a little bit more influence, effective
Mhm.
influence, in improving our environment, our
Mhm.
working environment, and then also, of course, improving the care delivery to patients. It's so
Mhm.
worthwhile. Mhm.
Mhm. It has both those benefits. And thankfully almost all the time they work together. They're not they work in synergy, to things that generally are making things better for the patients. That is gratifying to us and helps our sort of ability to work in that system as healthcare providers.
What do you see as being potentially one of the biggest opportunities
Mm.
if with quality improvement science?
Mm.
What what's something that might what that we might be able to achieve in British Columbia or in Canada as a whole with quality improvement and with
Mm.
the way that your program is running.
I think, the biggest opportunity, or one of our biggest assets right now, is our people. Um, it's the people who are out there on the front line working. It's the people who are in our programs. And I would say on the healthcare provider side, people are still, we've been through a lot in these last 2 years, and people are still there working. And there is so much resilience there, and dedication and passion that will carry us through. And so it's giving those people the right opportunity, the right skills to be able to put those things into action. And I would equally say with that our biggest opportunities in our people is in our patients, and exactly what we've been talking about, having our patients front and center in the work that we do, and even to the point of co-leading, co-designing projects, being involved at every level of healthcare. Um, I think our patients and their stories and their voice is one of those biggest opportunities we have to really make change. And we're supposed to be saving our patients, and I think they're gonna save us as well. Um, yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
yeah.
We need our patient partners to lean in and help, just as we need to lean in and help to save our system.
Mhm.
Because I think our system needs saving.
It
Sometimes
does.
I worry about the sustainability of our system. Do you ever worry about that? Like
Mhm.
all the waste that's happening, all the rework and stuff like that?
it this knowledge of QI is a blessing and a curse. Obviously it's very motivating and inspiring, but then I also I see all the waste in the system, and the inefficiency, and the and the problems, and you hear these stories. So it is both of those, and so our healthcare system needs fixing, and I know it's been a lot in the media in recent weeks, and I know this is sort of near and dear to your heart, but that the primary care system that we have, and in our community, is just feels like that one is front and center right now, probably for good reason, is really needing some attention, and we're seeing that those effects ripple onto so many different areas of the system. I see the effects of that as a specialist in my office. We see it in hospitals, um, and just how lucky we have been to have what we have had, and but it's not sustainable, and obviously there's some big challenges there. So there's obviously some big things that need fixing, but there's a lot of good things happening out there as well. And amidst these problems, there are some very inspiring stories and good people who are really working hard to make things better too. So I have hope. I have to have hope, and it's not a blind, everything will be okay in the end kind of Pollyanna. It's a choice to have that hope, um, and helps us moving forward into thinking about what's possible. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think I should clarify some of the waste that I see is where quality isn't the quality of care and the effectiveness of care, the acceptability of care,
Mm,
the level of respect shown to the patient isn't at the level that it could be. And that
mm,
necessarily disengages the patient from care.
yeah.
And so we have to necessarily redo that work to build
Yes.
the trust back with our patients so that they can
Mm,
re-engage in a journey where the
mm.
system actually accelerates their healing rather than stalling it or
We're
slowing it.
making it worse, or causing new trauma.
Exactly.
Um,
We've
yeah.
seen patients disengaged and distrustful with our system, and I
Mhm,
can't see anybody better positioned to regain that trust and to get the
mhm,
level of quality back to where it
mhm,
ought to be, such that patients re-engage, and we could save
mhm,
so much, so many resources by really
mhm,
doing it right the first time. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Well,
I've
very well said. I don't know if I have anything to add to that.
I I've really enjoyed, I think I met you maybe in 2017, and it's been 5 years. I've really enjoyed watching you and working under your leadership, and um, it's been fun. I remember when we first met. There was one time where you wanted to. We had a car with limited seats, and this is not completely kosher, but
Oh, I remember
you
this.
you
Yes.
volunteered, even though you volunteered to ride in the trunk. We
I
call that
did.
riding corpse. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride in the trunk, don't worry. And then I was like, I'm not gonna have that. I'm not gonna let Erica ride in the trunk. And we had like a physical
We had a
wrestling
slow
match
car.
where I
Yeah.
won. I won the wrestling
You did
match.
win the wrestling match. Yes.
I I
Yes.
I pulled you out of the trunk, and I got the trunk seat. But um, and it was awesome also to enjoy Universal Studios
Yeah.
after one of the IHI conferences. The IHI conferences, as you mentioned, were huge. There's like, how
Yeah.
many, like, are they like over a
5,000
thousand,
people.
five
Yeah.
thousand people? And the
Something
reason
like that. Yeah.
the reason they choose Orlando, I think, is because IHI's central city is somewhere on the East Coast, right?
In Boston. Yeah.
Boston, and
The
anybody
headquarters for IHI. Yeah.
anybody who's on the East Coast, you're going to vacation in Florida, kind of thing. And also, but Florida is one of the places the World Center Marriott is, I think,
Mm.
one of the second largest hotel
Yeah.
in North America or something. And because you have 5,000 people for healthcare conference, you need a really big location, and that's why we were down there, and that's why
Yeah.
how I met you there. I remember
Yeah. Oh,
we were at a Canadian QI gathering called the
yeah.
Canucks Gathering, and
Yeah.
I had just got some butter beer or something, and I was like, "Hey, you want
Oh,
some butter
from yeah.
beer?" And then you were like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
I love butterbeer.
yeah." We shared it around. Good times, good times. I look forward to potentially this December, maybe.
I sure hope so. I
Yeah,
know they've announced sort of some dates, and looks like they're planning in person. Florida's maybe not been the model of COVID care, but and COVID regulations, so we'll see. But um, uh, yeah, it would be great to be back in person, and yeah, these last little whiles, and just recently, obviously having some opportunity to actually interact, sort of in person, and again, just reminds you of how much I think for me I've been missing that, and um, yeah, so hopefully we can start to feel some of these normal interactions again. Yeah.
I remember being with you and going on an excursion where we actually went to Universal Studios to learn
Yeah.
about their safety, the safety of people do in the Sinbad show, which is like a
Yes.
pirate themed show, people doing stunts and
Lots of tricks and yeah, stunts, and how do they keep their system safe? But also, I remember talking a lot about the park in general, of safety and systems, and all those behind the scene things they do, and with props and weapons. I do think there was a picture with
a shotgun. I've never held a
shotgun.
shotgun before. Yeah, it was a fake shotgun, but
It was a fake one, yes. Um,
and we were sitting at a table, and I think we joined a group of friends from international aviation.
yeah.
Where were they from again?
So let's see. We had, so yourself and me and John. So the three of us kind of locally. And we had another fellow Canuck, Elaine from Alberta,
That's right, rheumatologist from Alberta.
rheumatologist. Shobin is from the UK or Scotland, in the UK, and does a lot of QI training for
The ER
physicians, I
doc.
believe, or ear doc in Scotland.
Yeah.
Um, Vina, who I think you saw recently, hey?
Yes, yes. I was
Yeah.
doing a medical repatriation for someone who had suffered a cardiac event.
Yeah.
I was down in San Diego picking them up and bringing
Yeah.
them home to British Columbia. And yeah, I got to. It was in her hometown, so got to see
Yeah.
her.
Now,
So
at the time we met her, she was working for Kaiser Permanente, I think.
yeah, has she moved on? I don't
I
know.
don't know actually. And then we had some like really international. Who was from Becca?
Yeah,
Becca from
Becca's
New
from.
Zealand?
Yeah, she's a Kiwi from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had. It's the IHI forum is a fantastic opportunity to learn from people from around the world who are
Mhm.
really devoting so much human capital into
Mhm.
investigating what are the best practices for improving their system. I really encourage anybody to go. And I think the scholarship
Mhm.
funds from the Doctors of BC, if you are a British Columbia based
Yeah,
Doctors of BC member, you can actually go there, experience this education, and bring it back to wherever you're working. Is that right?
absolutely. I believe they have lifted in the pandemic. They had a restriction on international travel for that fund, but I believe that's been lifted now. So um, that should be available to us. And I would add, in addition to the amazing education, the keynote speakers that they bring in are the best speakers anywhere, hands down. Like,
Forget
drop the
TED
mic,
Talks. Forget TED
awesome.
Talks. Yeah.
Holy cow. I usually end up at the end of each of those sessions in tears because it's so incredible. I'm like feeling teary just thinking back to some of them, but um, they bring in such amazing people. And Dr. Don Berwick always ends the conference, and he is just an icon, a leader, a compassionate leader. I mean, if there's anybody to look up to and model yourself after it, it might be him. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they know that the people side of change is all about intrinsic motivation. It's about,
Mm.
well, a balance of extrinsic and
Mm.
intrinsic, but definitely going to that is a recharge of intrinsic
Mm.
motivation, where your intrinsic
Mhm.
motivation can kind of last you and help you through the distressing times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely become kind of one of my go-to to kind of recharge and kind of feel better and come away with some new ideas and have some fun time with friends a little bit outside of that. And someday, have yet to take my kids with me, and they're ever bitter about that. So maybe this year we'll actually get them. Uh, we'll have to see, but yeah. Yeah, it's a great experience, and IHI events in general have a really high quality. So there's other things throughout the year too as well.
You seeing a business that's job is to improve quality actually has good quality events?
They do, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or else we'll close it here?
Oh, I think we've covered the ups and
Yeah.
downs and the whole life cycle of QI. Just want to say thank you for inviting me, and thank you for um, some of those reminders, and you're um, equally passionate and skilled and a huge leader in our community. So thank you for continuing to do what you do and have this forum and inviting me here tonight. Really phenomenal. So very blessed to have you in that network of colleagues and friends that get to do this work together.
I could say the same. It's
Mhm.
healing to know you, and you inspire me and continue doing what you do, and
Mhm.
we're all going to benefit. And how exciting! What a privilege to do the work that we're doing.
It
Um,
is.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Doctors of BC. Shout out to uh,
Yeah.
Chris Metcher and Gord and all the SSC people,
Yeah.
all the doctors, any person trying to improve the system. Shout out to you. You guys
Yes.
are keep
Keep
fighting a good fight. Yeah.
keep fighting.
Yeah,
Um,
don't give up. We need you. We need you in this
mhm.
battle. And yeah, shout out to the table at Universal Studios, Universal
Our little
Inequality
universal anarchy. Woohoo.
Anarchist. Shout out to
The
you.
anarchists. Yes.
Okay,
Um,
I look forward to your reunion, and yeah, maybe we'll see you soon.
that would be
Maybe
fun.
December.
Yay. We'll
Bye.
plan for it.
Oh, quality forum. Quality forum's coming up, and
We
we'll
are,
probably
yes. Yes, I'm gonna be there. So
awesome. You too.
yeah.
Good night. Good night, Erica. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right.